spending months denying any wrongdoing, a former Bay Area police officer now admits that he was part of a conspiracy to steal drugs and cash from drivers during traffic stops along Highway 101.
A senior investigative reporter, Begad Shaban, aired a series of reports last month on the allegations and was in federal court this evening when the former officer confessed to a bizarre crime spree stretching years.
A trio of counties, Mendocino, Humboldt, and Trinity, make up what's known as the Emerald Triangle, one of the largest marijuana producers in the country. Zeke Flatten was driving through southern Mendocino County nearly 4 years ago when he says he found himself at the center of a bizarre crime and cover-up.
This is where we pulled off, and this is where I was robbed, right here.
He was visiting from Texas, in town on a work trip, hoping to launch his own marijuana business when he saw flashing police lights behind him. He was being pulled over.
At what point did you get the feeling something's wrong?
Within the first 30 to 60 seconds.
He says the two men identified themselves as federal agents with the ATF. One of them asked Flatten if he had any money or drugs in the car. Flatten told him he had a doctor's note for medical marijuana.
And he goes, "Oh, that gives us the right to search the vehicle." And right there, I just shut up.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. It is your host, Trent James, and I hope you are all doing well. Before I get into the main topic of today's video, it is important that I give all of you some backstory to this incident. Otherwise, you're going to have no clue what's going on. You'll have nothing to reference to. It's just going to be a standalone thing. And I need to update and brief you guys on the prior shenanigans that led up to where we're at today. Also, these incidents transpired partly in the county that I'm from, Mendocino County, which is in the northern part of California, where I was a law enforcement officer, and the county just south of that, Sonoma County in Northern California, where I went to college, and I lived there as well. And I know what you're thinking right now. Trent, there's no way you were a cop and college educated. That's literally impossible. You want to know how I know that, Trent? Because you have neck tattoos and you have hand tattoos. You're clearly you've been to prison. You're on parole. At the bare minimum, Trent, you've committed armed robbery, and you're definitely going to hell for those tattoos, especially the neck tattoos. How can you live with yourself, Trent? And you have no hair. Sorry, I digress. But anyway, I have to give you guys a very, very abridged version of this story because otherwise it's going to take 15,000 hours, and everybody has TikTok brain these days. The attention spans are non-existent. So I'm going to hit the highlights for you. I'm going to do the best that I can with the dates and the times to catch everybody up to this article that I'm going to cover that just came out. So this main incident that sparked this whole thing off and to why this article is relevant right now occurred on December 5th, 2017. In the southern part of Mendocino County, just south of a town called Hopland, near Frog Woman Rock, which is right here circled in green. This is where this incident occurred that I'm about to discuss. And 10 minutes away is the nearest town crossed over into the Sonoma County line. So Frog Woman Rock is in Mendocino County. This is down in Sonoma County. This is going to be important for later on. 9 miles away. So near Frog Woman Rock, December 5th, 2017, you have my boy, Zeke Flatten. Boom. My boy Zeke right here. Zeke was just driving along in his rental car. He's from San Antonio, Texas. He was in Mendocino County visiting. He had 3 pounds of weed, marijuana, processed in his rental car. Zeke is a movie producer and was at that time as well, and pretty involved in the entertainment industry. And he wanted to capitalize as an entrepreneur on the weed business. So he was in talks to develop some sort of CBD gummy for dogs. And his plan later on was to actually contact Snoop Dogg, the rapper, try to do some sort of business collab. So Zeke's in his rental car, cruising along, listening to Limp Bizkit or Ace of Base or whatever he had going on. And he looks up in his rearview mirror, sees flashing red and blue lights in a black SUV. He's like, oh, damn, I'm getting pulled over. So he pulls over right away, Frog Woman Rock, right in there. Zeke, back in the day in the 90s, was a cop for a period of time. So he knows traditionally how these vehicle pullovers are supposed to go. 2 gentlemen exit the vehicle, walk up to him, and right away he saw some red flags because these guys had no insignia on their patrol vehicle or no name tags, no patches, nothing. Subsequently, they identified themselves as being with the ATF, agents with the ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Agency, which is also really weird. What are you doing conducting vehicle pullovers in Mendocino County as the ATF. Okay. So they had zero probable cause, but they ended up searching his vehicle. They didn't have an odor of marijuana. They didn't see marijuana, no nothing. They also asked him for his rental agreement, which both of these people handled physically they touched it. They took his 3 pounds of weed and they left. All of this took place in under 5 minutes, this vehicle stop. At no point in time did they provide him with their name or anything else, just that they're with the ATF. They didn't give him a case number. They didn't give him a citation, nothing, no paperwork or of any kind. So when they left, Zeke's just kind of sitting there like, oh, damn, that was really odd. I'm pretty sure I just got robbed. And they might have been real cops. They could have been fake cops. That happens sometimes. People conduct fake vehicle pullovers to rob people. So he's kind of sitting there thinking like, damn, my CBD weed's gone. So a couple days after that, Zeke's finally composes himself and he contacts the agency that holds the jurisdiction for where he was pulled over, which was the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office, where I was a deputy. And I was actually working for that department during this time, but I didn't hear anything about this because I was a resident deputy in the town of Covelo, which was like an hour 45 or hour 50 minutes northeast of where Zeke got pulled over, way out in the woods. So he called the sheriff's office 3 days after his vehicle pullover and talked to somebody named Christine Luna, who I also know personally. She works in a civilian capacity at the sheriff's office there, and she does literally whatever she's told by the command staff, even if it's sketch. So Zeke talks to Christine Luna for about 15, 20 minutes, and he's like, hey, man, woman, I got pulled over in your county and I got robbed. Pretty sure. This was really weird. So I need some help. And she kind of like brushed him off and kind of laughed at him and like wasn't taking it seriously. And she's like, yeah, okay, guy, for sure. She's like, you're going to need to talk to the undersheriff, Randy Johnson, in all his glory about this young gentleman right here. I'm going to get into Randy Johnson's shenanigans later, everybody. Just wait. And Christine was like, yeah, but he's not here. So I'll let him know you called. Maybe he'll get back to you. And Zeke's like, cool, thanks for nothing. Right after that, Christine Luna sent an email to a lieutenant at the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office named Jason Cadillo. And he's a whole nother mess of felonies just by himself. Look at that smile. Just acting like he never got fired from his agency prior for sexually assaulting a woman on duty. Anyway, so Cadillo gets this email and he sends Christine Luna an email back 3 minutes later saying, hey, I tried to call this Zeke guy, didn't pick up. He said he attempted once and Zeke never picked up. So we know this is a lie, that never happened through court documentation and records and everything like that. So Jason lied again. Odd. Didn't see that coming. Zeke getting absolutely nowhere contacts the FBI on December 11th, 6 days after his vehicle pullover. And the FBI said, hey, man, don't contact the MCSO, the sheriff's office there anymore. Bye. No help at all. And that's about par for them. They are one of the laziest agencies in the United States of America. I've worked with them in a professional capacity when I was in law enforcement. Also, I have spoken with them on more than one occasion regarding the corruption in the county that I'm from, and they don't do shit. They want everything handed to them on a silver platter with a cute little bow tied around it. Otherwise, they don't want to get involved. Also, there's a lot of corruption that goes on there too. Shocker. I know. Anyway, Zeke getting nowhere with the FBI was like, all right, well, this is how this is going to go. Because he contacted agent in the Santa Rosa office, which is in Sonoma County, right beneath the county where he was pulled over. And this female agent said, nah, I'm not interested, man. That sounds really boring. So then Zeke's like, all right, screw it. Started hitting up reporters in various news outlets in the area and also tried to contact the sheriff's office again. And he also contacted the attorney general, state of California, who is also worthless. And the attorney general's office said, hey, we're not going to get involved until you send 3 certified letters to the following agencies: the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office, Rohnert Park Police Department, and the grand jury. During the course of this, Zeke was able to identify the 2 people that had pulled him over, one of which was Joseph Huffaker, this guy right here with the Rohnert Park Police Department. The other person that he identified is this guy right here on the top row, second from the right, Bruce Smith, who was a sergeant at the time during Zeke's vehicle pullover in the Comet, which is the marijuana eradication unit at the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office. And then down here you have Joseph Huffaker, and next to him, Brendan Jacey Tatum, who is going to be the main topic of today's video, and we're going to get into that. And then you have a few of the other victims down here of these various highway robberies. So Zeke sent these certified letters. And this is a copy of one of them right here, saying, hey, I've made several complaints. You guys are not helping me. These are all the times I've contacted the various people at the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office and the Under Sheriff Randy Johnson, et cetera, et cetera. I'm getting no help, blah, 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 blah. So he sends this since the AG told him to. And then they're like, yeah, we'll totally help you after that, man. So after Zeke does that, then things start to get into motion there. Randy Johnson, the undersheriff, who I had just showed you guys, called him and said, hey, man, I've done zero investigation into this Zeke, but there's no crime committed. I can already tell. So don't ever call me again. Side note, everybody, with Undersheriff Randy Johnson, because he was the undersheriff when I worked there. This guy, when he was the undersheriff, had his property raided twice by law enforcement. The first time in 2012 by the feds and a neighboring agency, where his brother lived in the same compound, took the hit on that criminally. The second time when I was working there, 2016. And this was funny because this got around really fast, where there was a fire at his property, which I'm going to show you guys in a minute. Fire personnel showed up and they noticed a bunch of weed hanging over the fence down the one driveway that led to his house. There's only one way in and out of there. And they're like, there's weed here at the undersheriff's house. This is weird. So they called the sheriff, Tom Allman, which is this guy right here, the guy that hired Randy Johnson. He also hired me too. Tom Allman shows up. A couple of my buddies show up too with the sheriff's office. And they're like, yeah, there's a bunch of weed here. What the fuck? So Tom Allman, the sheriff, swears these guys to secrecy. You're not allowed to talk about this, whatever. Nothing happened with that. You know, everyone's like, oh, it's his brother's weed who lives here too. Dude, as the undersheriff, you're driving down your driveway and you have fat plants hanging over your fence, regardless of who's going to take the rap on that, which clearly he has knowledge of that too. That's insanely problematic. And he's also the one that was growing the weed. I mean, come on, let's just not be idiotic here. This is his property though. You guys be the judge of that. This is just a side tangent. It's important. It was the undersheriff's property at the time. This is his house circled in yellow. Okay. This is Highway 20. And this yellow line right here is the only way in and out of his property. These green images right here, this is where all the weed was located during that fire. And his brother lived in like one of these houses right here. And he's like, oh, I had no knowledge of that. That must have been my brother's or somebody else's in my family, because my house is clearly over here. I don't care if there's only one way in and out of that. You got to be kidding me. And we're going to get back to Randy here in a second. This is just a side. So Randy calls Zeke, says, that's a cool story again. Nobody cares. Then the district attorney in Mendocino County, Dave Eister, contacts Zeke as well, his office, and says, this is on February 5th, and is like, hey, I got your letter. That's the sheriff's office jurisdiction. They can investigate it. And the DA's office there is insanely corrupt as well. Big shock, big shock. And then a couple of days after that, a representative in the detective's office with the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office called Zeke and said, hey, you're pissing us off and annoying us. Who are you? Why'd you have weed in our county? You're clearly a criminal. You had 3 pounds of weed. You belong in prison. You're the issue here. Nobody robbed you. What are you talking about? Right? Basically just interrogated the shit out of this guy. A couple hours later, the actual ATF called Zeke and said, hey, we need every detail of that vehicle stop on December 5th, because you're saying that it was, these guys said that they were with us. So he provided them with everything. And at that point, they started to put the pressure on the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office. The ATF did. And then right after that, a couple of days later, on February 11th, the first article started to run on this story with various news outlets in the immediate area in the Sonoma County, Mendocino County. And on February 12th, the very next day, Jacey Tatum, Sergeant Jacey Tatum with the Rohnert Park Police Department. This guy right here, he was contacted by a Sheriff Tom Allman that I showed you guys that his picture before with the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office. And Tom Allman's like, Jacey Tatum, my agency's taking a lot of hit on this, man. It's not chill. The vibes are no longer chill. ATF's calling me. This looks like shit. I need you to put out a press release on this vehicle pullover with Zeke Flatten. We need to put some heat back onto him, show everybody he's a drug smuggler immediately. By the way, is my payment still coming later this month? Okay, cool. Thanks. Bye. Right? Tatum puts out an article, and the article is a fabrication. Tatum said, we pulled over Zeke Flatten on December 18th, and he had 30 pounds of weed. There was a secondary stop on the 18th involving Huffaker and Tatum. but where they robbed another person who's also involved in this case as a victim, but they said it was Zeke when it wasn't, so it was fake. And this was that original article written by Tatum on behalf of Sheriff Tom Allman. So you can see February 13th of 2018, immediate release. During the month of December 27th, members of the Rohnert Park Police Department and Public Safety conducted a traffic enforcement stop on a white SUV, which was being driven by Zeke Flatton on the Sonoma/Mendocino County line. Bullshit. That was 9 miles into Mendocino County. Tatum, you lying bag of crap. During the traffic stop, the officers, what officers, Tatum? Huffaker and who? Huffaker and who? Who else with your agency? Nobody else has been wrapped up in this except for you guys with the Rohnert Park Police Department. And they said all this dumb shit. It was clearly a fabrication, right? What's very interesting about this is it's like, dude, what are you talking about? Why were officers with the Rohnert Park Police Department 9 miles into Mendocino County when your agency is in Rohnert Park on like the southern portion of Sonoma County, like the furthest away from Mendocino County you can be almost in Sonoma County, aside from like Petaluma? But what are you guys doing? You're just cruising along in Rohnert Park Police Department vehicles. Oh man, you want to just say screw it and drive about 45 minutes north into Mendocino County and start stopping cars? Yeah, sure, why not? Sounds logical. Let's do it. Not in our jurisdiction at all. Fuck it. Yeah. So that came out, and then after that, then all the court proceedings started, right? Long story short, Jacey Tatum, this is already going too long. Jacey Tatum and Huffaker were both fired and arrested. They were both federally indicted for extortion, the highway robbery stuff, tax evasion, all kinds of things. Jacey Tatum accepted a plea agreement a long time ago, back in like 2021, I think, with the feds. And the federal government were like, okay, man, listen, we're going to let you keep over $2 million of money that you stole from innocent people. You only have to pay back $440,000 of it, approximately somewhere in there. We will only come after you for the year 2016. We'll only look at that for your bank records and cash transactions. If you snitch on your boy and give us all the information we need, you play ball, we will let you keep over $2 million. He's like, okay, that sounds good, right? So that's what happened. Huffaker up front denied all of this, right? He's like, oh, that wasn't me. That wasn't me. Eventually, he admitted it in a proffer agreement, which is a written contract between Huffaker and the federal prosecutor that allows Huffaker to share information about a crime without the risk of it being used against them, which a judge in 2023 later shot down and said, actually, we're still going to use everything you said against you. It's hilarious. But in that proffer agreement, he admitted everything. This is the court documents. In early 2022, he entered into a proffer agreement with the feds. And in his statement, Huffaker discussed his police background with the Rohnert Park Police Department. And he, after initially attempting to minimize his role, he went on to admit his presence on the traffic stop on December 18th that they tried to pin on Zeke, but it was actually this other guy, initials BL. And he admitted to producing a false police report and press release. He admitted that him and Tatum agreed to extort drivers for marijuana and other extortions for money, blah, 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 right? What's very interesting about this is Huffaker admitted to crimes before Zeke Flatten's stop on the 5th and after, as you just saw, on the 18th. So on both sides of Zeke, but he, to this day, has continuously denied ever being a part of Zeke Flatten's stop. You think, why would he do that? What was so special about Zeke's? Zeke only had 3 pounds of weed. He already admitted to all these other crimes. Why does it matter? I'll tell you why. Because that would directly tie the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office to this vehicle pullover, because Zeke alleged that Bruce Smith with the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office was with him, was with Huffaker during that stop. And if Huffaker admits, yes, I was part of Zeke Flatten's stop, okay, then who was the second guy? Huffaker. Who was it? He's going to have to say. So it's easy for him to say, that wasn't me, dude. Trust me. You know what I mean? Also, the feds being completely worthless. They have that rental contract that Bruce Smith and Huffaker handled when they pulled over Zeke. They have the fingerprints from that in evidence. You can see right here, line 18. Exhibit number 31, request for FBI lab to conduct fingerprint analysis. 32, latent fingerprint images, like, so they have this and they won't release it. They will not release it. They will not release the information. Who was the second gunman on the grassy knoll? We don't know. Why? Well, corruption starts at the top, everybody. There's been no indictments bringing the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office into this. They don't give a shit. They're just focused on Tatum and Huffaker. And Tatum there's thousands of emails, texts, other documents that Tatum has provided and Huffaker has provided at this point, but saying that like, this is what's happened and we're going to see what happens ultimately. This has been going on for a better part of a decade. Like I said, it's probably never going to end. Dragging it out. We're all going to die of old age before it gets concluded. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. Lots of preferential treatment here on these guys. They have a lot of dirt on a lot of people that go above them, including, I don't know, maybe higher ups at the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office, maybe some judges, maybe some people at the federal level. Anybody that doesn't believe this shit's a possibility, like, you've been living under a rock. Not every agency is like this. Not every cop is like this. The county that I worked and Sonoma County South, 100%. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Not all of them, of course, not all cops there. There's some good people that I worked with. I'm talking about the guys that run the show. That's usually who I'm talking about when I reference these things, everybody. So then let's go ahead and get into the main topic of today's video now that I've kind of brought everybody up to speed. And these guys are looking at, like, several years in federal prison, and they're supposedly about to finalize a lot of this year and during the summertime against Huffaker, because Tatum's already pled guilty and Tatum's released right now on a $100,000 bond and he's on federal probation, which is shenanigans. We used to pull people over in our county that were on federal probation, and it's like we couldn't do anything with it. They had no Fourth Amendment waiver, meaning we couldn't search their vehicle. We couldn't do anything. They had one term, and it said obey all laws, which everybody has to obey all laws. There was no point of contact for us. So like if we pulled somebody over on regular county probation or CDC state parole, we could contact their PO. Hey, dude, this guy's over here doing weird shit. Dispatch would tell us they have a Fourth Amendment search and seizure waiver. You can search them and their vehicle. Federal probation was like a mystical unicorn. It didn't exist. It was like nothing we could do with it. We would just let them leave. So Tatum gets the privilege of being out on nonsense federal probation right now, where nothing is real and he can do whatever he wants, and he could just chill on his $2 million plus that the federal government allowed him to keep. But this is the article that I wanted to talk about today. Right here. So ex-Rohnert Park cop, which is Jacey Tatum, faces new consequences for his illegal grow in here. So this is the inside of his this marijuana grow, indoor marijuana grow operation on his property. What's funny about this is it was discovered by code inspectors because there was reported like some illegal chicken coop situation, which is probably BS, but whatever. It's hilarious to me. What's really funny about this is Tatum provided a statement. Look, this looks bad, especially with my case being for the same issue. I made a mistake. I know. I'm trying to make some money and get things squared away for my family before I go to prison. Yeah, where you belong. Tatum's defense attorney, Stuart Hanlon, you're an idiot. And I'm going to tell you why. He said his client was renting out a large barn on his multi-acre Santa Rosa property, but he did not know they were growing pot. Yeah, okay. Okay, guy. Yeah, for sure. And also Tatum, let's see here, ruined dozens of lives. What's really funny about this, everybody? So Tatum said, basically like, I needed the money. I'm trying to get stuff squared away for my family before I go to prison, right? But then his attorney just said, no, it was a tenant and he had a multi-acre property and had no knowledge this guy was growing weed on it. Major contradictions here, right? But let's just say for the sake of argument, Tatum meant like, oh, I was just renting it out because I need money just for the rent portion for my family. He didn't necessarily mean the weed, and it was worded that way. I'm going to show you Tatum's property, and you guys can be the judge of that. I'm not like a world-class detective, but I'm going to go ahead and say these guys are full of shit. This property, ladies and gentlemen, and I clearly worked for the wrong agency, because I guess if you work at the Rohnert Park Police Department, you can afford like $1 million plus spread in Sonoma County. Look at his house with his pool where he just tans and chills, awaiting federal sentencing where he's going to do absolutely no time. Anyway, this is his house circled in green. This is the barn thing where all the weed was growing. His multi-acre property. Dude, you can see right across here. That's not I'm not like an acre expert, but that is a very small parcel compared to like how the defense attorney was articulating it. Oh, it's like to where you couldn't even see it at all. Right. And also this over here with the red box, these are solar panels that provided power to this barn. So look at this driveway, everybody, in and out, one way in and out to Jacey's house. So you're telling me this guy that was a cop for over a decade or whatever, worked on a task force, used to rip people off with weed and money and all that stuff. He's going to drive by this whole time. He's not going to smell any weed. He's not going to notice this guy constructing all these things to put these plants in. He's not going to notice all the building going on, or all the things that are going to be going in there in terms of materials to build these various things to have this grow. Like, he's not going to notice any of that, right? Just being, walk out his front door and he's basically right there. It's in the same yard. You're shitting me. Come up with a better defense than that, Stuart. You are horrible at your job. I could probably learn how to do these attorneys' jobs. And if I really sat down and tried with how they conduct themselves, it'd probably take me about 14 days and I could probably have a successful law practice just like these guys. Anyway, so these guys, like I said, they're both going to go to prison. They're still trying to squirm and wiggle their way out of it. Huffaker is on his like 8th attorney now. They keep either dying or recusing themselves from the case. I'm not even kidding. One of his last attorneys died on his birthday, like his attorney's own birthday. Super weird. But yeah, that's just going to be it. Everybody just par for the course on this. And I'm really interested to see what happens when this case is finally settled in the year 2074. And I hope you're all there to see it too. That's going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you in the next one. Take care.